What's up, y'all? It's Whiskey Joe. We have reached the end of the CRAS recap video series with 12 Cycle coming to a close. Lots of memories have been made, lots of knowledge gained. Let's go through what we did over these last 3 weeks and what's to come. Week 1 Monday, we had a beginner music theory class where we talked about major and minor scales, the notes on a staff, time signatures, and watched a few videos on common chord progressions. Tuesday, we had our first Audio Business 200 class. We talked about trademarks, service marks, which are trademarks, but it identifies a source of services instead of goods, and even the different strength levels of trademarks. We also discussed unfair competition law and the Lanham Act, which punishes deceptive trading practices such as confusing or misleading consumers into buying something. Wednesday, we had a vocal tracking and editing class in Studio F. We split up into roles again, except our instructor wanted us to pick a role that we weren't comfortable with to force ourselves to become a little more comfortable with it, so we are more confident doing that task or that role on our internship. So I was one of the board ops. We recorded a few lead vocal tracks, then layered harmonies on top and practiced comping different takes using the playlist feature in Pro Tools. Thursday, we had another audio business class going over interview tips and tricks to help us land an internship. We'll be doing a mock interview with our instructor in week 2, going over probably the most common question or request asked in an interview, which is tell me about yourself. We talked about how we can answer this without going overboard, but also getting out the most relevant information. We also went over other questions that will typically be asked in interviews and some good talking points to mention. Friday, we had our last class with one of my favorite instructors, Adam, going over some advanced vocal production along with ways to properly organize a session that might get sent to us from an artist to mix. In the project file, we had a bunch of tracks that we set up into groups, we set up VCAs for them, and also made a bunch of submixes as well. It was really cool to see how our instructor, who does this regularly, show us his workflow and give us real-world tips to help us optimize our time when given a standard session to mix. We also went over a few Melodyne tips on how to make harmonies quickly. Week 2 Monday was pretty chill. We were with our internship coordinator for the first half of class going over interview conduct, and we each got to practice answering a common interview question and getting feedback on how we can strengthen our responses. We also talked about some do's and don'ts for when we're on our internship and how we'll track our hours to make sure we hit the 280 hours that's required of us in order to completely finish out the program. The second half of class we spent going over budgeting and some general finance tips to help establish good spending habits, along with talking a bit about student loans for those that have them and the resources CRAS offers should we need any help or have questions about anything in that regard. Tuesday, we had our mock interview workshop where we had to answer the question, tell me about yourself. We each went up in front of the instructor and answered the question, got some feedback on our response, and learned from each other's responses as well. It's never fun to go up in front of the class with all eyes on you to do something like this, at least for me it's not, but it was a good learning experience and we got some good feedback from our instructor on how to effectively answer this question. After that, we went over Creative Commons licenses and performance royalties and how we can actually get paid for our work as creatives. Wednesday, we were in Studio F for an overdub clinic. We got the chance to record a saxophone with a few different mics and also a guitar in the control room, laying down rhythm and lead over the backing track. Thursday was our last note-taking day for audio business. We covered the key points of a recording contract, what unions are and things we should be aware of regarding unions, and understanding contracts when the relationship is working but also when it stops working. Friday, we got to see how one of our instructors takes a mix from start to finish with a song we haven't heard before. We got to see how he organizes the session and the different techniques and workflow he uses to make a demo track sound like a finished mix by the end of the class. Week 3 Monday, we had a class on remote recording. As technology continues to progress, remote recording for artists' projects is becoming more and more common. We learned how to use a few different softwares to record musicians remotely, either by taking control of their computer and recording on their DAW, or recording on your computer and sending the audio back to their computer. Surprisingly, the amount of latency was pretty minimal for what seemed like a complicated setup. Tuesday was presentation day for our Audio Business 200 class, where we had to conduct a 5 to 10 minute presentation on any topic audio related. However, I actually didn't go to class that day because I was invited along with a handful of other students to attend the Pantera concert happening in Phoenix and meet the front of house engineer Eddie Mapp, who is also a CRAS grad. We got to see how he sets up for a show and see his workflow. We also got to talk with the front of house engineers for the openers, go backstage close to the instruments and talk to the monitor engineers as well. And we even got to stay for the show, which even got rained out for a bit shortly after Pantera got on stage, which is wild to see. It was so cool seeing Eddie handle that stressful situation with water getting so close to all the gear. I didn't see an ounce of worry from him while it was happening. He handled it very well. It was awesome. Eventually the show went on and Pantera got to play through their set. Wednesday, we were in Studios F and G for an overdub clinic. The class was split into two, and one group was recording vocals and acoustic guitar, while my group tracked guitar with an amp in the ISO booth. The instructor was hands off, so we assigned roles and quickly got to work. Shout out Big Paw for being the head engineer of our session and keeping everything running smoothly. He was also one of the only 2 people to get the big PA badge in our cycle, and he was the AES tech during his time here on campus. Keep putting in that work, my man. Hope things are going well for you back in Phoenix, and shout out Big Paw for real, if you know you. And once each group was done recording, we transferred the files to the other group and made a mix with it. For the first half of class on Thursday, we had a 2-hour discussion with CRAS grad Jason Weiner, who's been out in the industry for quite some time and shared his amazing story with us. It was truly inspirational and was the perfect start to our last real class here on campus. So after that talk, the only thing left was taking our Audio Business 200 final, which was an easy 50-question multiple choice test, open book and open note. Once that was finished, the mentors in my class attended our last mentor meeting, said our goodbyes, then took off for the night. Then Friday was the big day. No class, no lecture, no lesson plan. All students from our cycle along with friends and family joined together in the live sound room where it all started to get some final pieces of advice from our internship coordinators and Brock, our head of education. We received our awards, made our final rounds to our instructors, gathered some signatures, and went our separate ways. And that brings a final wrap to cycle 12 here at CRAS and a wrap to this video series. If there's anyone that actually ends up watching these videos, I hope they provide a little bit of helpful insight if you're either currently attending CRAS or thinking about attending. I originally made this series for myself as something to look back on in 10 years from now to really see how far I've come and to remember my roots a little bit. I'm surprised I pushed through and got through all 12 cycles worth of recaps because I'll admit creating this kind of content isn't something I had ever done before, so finding the motivation to complete these has been tough at times, but I'm thankful I pushed through and can say I didn't give up on it. I also want to give a heartfelt congratulations to all my classmates for making it through this difficult and jam-packed curriculum because it was not an easy road to travel on. We all experienced our ups and downs along this path, but we all somehow managed to make it to the end, and I'm extremely proud of that. I didn't end up getting diamond status, but that's okay because one of my strongest drivers in life is continuing to chase perfection knowing I may never get there, but we came damn close. So I'm happy to have made the platinum directors list with a 4.0 GPA and got a letter of recommendation from Brock and Brandon for being on the mentor team. But I couldn't have done all of this without the support of my instructors, my friends I've made here in school, my parents, and everyone else that's been there for me over the years. I appreciate you being here on this musical journey over the years, and I hope to see great things in this next chapter of life in the audio industry, taking on internship in LA in the years to come after that. So a message to future me is to keep working hard, don't give up. You got this, just keep going. And with that, I think I'll wrap up this video. At this point, I'm not sure if I'll continue giving regular updates, but we'll see what time and motivation will allow. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll catch you in the next video.